Good evening, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for coming back. I always appreciate you taking time with me. Today is April the 29th, 2024. I have several news updates to share with you, including Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed speech at World Bank Summit in Nairobi. In addition to that one, I have visa restriction on EU visa restriction on Ethiopian citizens. A little bit update from Amhara region. Also, the ongoing pro-Palestinian protest at United States universities. That's a very serious one now. And the peace talk between Gaza or Hamas and Israel is still going on. There may be a breakthrough, but so far still engagement, no breakthrough on ceasefire or permanent ceasefire and releasing the hostages. So Blinken speech pushing on that one. I have that on video. So I have several news for today in reading plus on the videos I selected for you. Thank you again for coming back. So the Amhara region governor or president Aragga Kabada gave to the government-friendly media that the region is about, about 70% in the control of the governor or the governor authority. 70%, he say, and development is still going on, and peace mostly secured. Government controls the regional offices, districts, and also local offices. So he say Fano militant, Fano militia is only moving around in mountainous and forest areas. So, but this is not independent report. This is the government or the head of the region, Mr. Aragga Kabada, reporting, giving us a report or updates on the region. So until we have independent verification on the report, we just, take it as a report. But, Prosperity Party officials are very well known for lying. They don't feel ashamed, they lie. So, but that is what I heard on the media. So he say military operations will continue to root out what the remaining forces in mountainous area or in forest areas. Also re-educating the public, engaging with the public will continue according to his press statement. So he also opened the door for negotiation for Fano militias. In Oromia region, according to Oromo Liberation Army, the military operation is very, very tough. The government is trying to corner, especially the western part of Oromia, cut off from the other, from all kind of supplies and engage with oil and harm the population. So it has been like that since 2018, but now it's intensified military operation to complete the movement of oil forces from Oromia region within 40 days. That's their plan, and so far no success. But that's the update I have from Oromia region. So military operation in Oromia region and the Fano operation in Amhara region. So these two major regions are still not free from military operation. That is my understanding. That is the update I have for you. And we'll start with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed addressing World Bank Summit in Nairobi. Then I will give you other news update in reading. Then we'll come back to the video. Thank you again. Let's listen to him addressing to these attendees. It's in English. No translation is needed.
On the state of affairs in Ethiopia, a nation that has been harnessing resilience in the face of a spectrum of challenges, aggravated by external forces such as climate change, pandemic, geopolitical tension, and the soaring global cost of living. First and foremost, the Ethiopian government has navigated structural macroeconomic reforms amid challenges, focusing our attention on macro-financial stability, productivity enhancement, and favorable investment climate. Second,
watch me. Watch me shine with every snap. Born to move fans, to cheer and clap. Two different legs. That's
second, and central to our collective aspirations for a peaceful continent, we must foster dialogue and reconciliation. In late 2021, Ethiopia formed the National Dialogue Commission to lead inclusive talks, independently tackling ongoing conflicts with wide public involvement. The Commission has thus far had consultative dialogue involving tens of thousands of stakeholders over 2 years. Regional dialogue are imminent, aiming to expand participation further. Third, like many IDA countries, Ethiopia faces unemployment and a skill gap challenge, with the government prioritizing accessible education to empower citizens while encouraging youth engagement in startups across various fields. Investment in skills and education is central to Ethiopia's 10-year development plan, with a focus on sectors like agriculture, manufacturing, and tourism, expected to cover over 2 million new jobs. Fourth, universal energy access stands as a cornerstone for sustainable development. As it stands currently, half of our population is still without access to reliable electricity. We are massively investing on clean and renewable energy generation projects, which aims to accelerate universal access to affordable and reliable energy for all our people. Despite possessing over 60,000 megawatt potential from our diverse renewable energy sources, realizing this capacity demands substantial investment. Fifth, the digitalization of economies holds immense potential to enhance connectivity, spur innovation, and expand access to essential services. In Ethiopia, our telecom sector liberalization, mobile money, and digital payment system have expanded financial access in Ethiopia. The National Digital ID program we have launched is also a crucial step towards our digital transformation, greatly improving public service access. Lastly, as stewards of our planet, we must prioritize efforts to build a livable future for all. The Horn of Africa faces escalating threats from climate change, including rising temperature, food insecurity, and extreme weather events. Ethiopia is actively countering this challenge through its Green Legacy initiative, prioritizing afforestation, reforestation, and environmental conservation. With over 32.5 billion seedlings planted towards a goal of 50 billion over 2 phases. Ethiopia aligns with global agreements like the Paris Climate Change Agreement and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Excellencies, while the international development associations' existing support must be commended, the sheer scale for challenges many African countries faces necessitate a renewed approach. With 120 million people, Ethiopia has great potential for prosperity. Yet, as a key recipient of AIDA support in Africa, Ethiopia faces a significant financing shortfall that may hinder its progress. Meeting the goals of AIDA 21 replenishment is vital to accessing essential development funds and driving Ethiopia toward its maximum potential. We urge AIDA to significantly enhance its financial capacity and funding models, specifically increased support for crisis preparedness, response, and recovery is essential. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very happy and excited to invite to the stage Her Excellency, Dr.
MI6 agent Imogen Salter. She's our only chance of preventing this attack.
It's my job to tell the truth from a lie.
We strongly support Israel in its effort to ensure.
Okay, that's Secretary Anthony Blinken on World Economic Forum meeting addressing the ceasefire and other issues. So that's the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, addressing the attendees of International Development Association. So it's in English, no translation is necessary, but he, purposely ignored Ethiopia's major problem. It's not only food insecurity, it's not only climate problem. Ethiopia has a major problem, internal fighting, war still going on in that country, especially in two major regions of the country, Amhara and Oromia region. So he purposely, ignored that. You don't want to mention it, but that's a major problem. The country with internal problem will not gain any economic or political advancement. So that's instability and lawlessness and a broken system, a broken justice system, plus wars. So these are major problems. He purposely ignored it. The other things supposed to be for internal audience, but he presented for those international audience. So it's good engagement on the global market, but still the major problem must be solved at home. If you have problem inside, you will not be strong. So the Prime Minister, his team, they should again revise and come to terms how to end the conflict back home and how to respect the constitution. So how to end this lawlessness and using Korean Agenya or killing squad to assassinate their own citizens. So they must stop that one. They must end the wars and respect the constitution. Let's continue with other news. I'll come back to Secretary Antony Blinken's video and others that follow. This one is about European Union visa restriction to Ethiopian nationals. The European Union has decided to restrict its visa provisions for Ethiopian nationals due to a lack of cooperation from Ethiopia's government over repatriating those who stay illegally, the EU Council said on Monday, which is today. The moves comes as European government try to tackle the problem of refugees leaving war-torn countries in Africa and aiming to enter Europe via perilous crossings over the Mediterranean Sea, often organized by the criminal gangs. This decision follows an assessment by the Commission, which concludes that cooperation by Ethiopia is in the field of readmission of its nationals illegally staying in the EU is insufficient, said the EU Council. Earlier this month, European lawmakers approved a revamped migration system. The pro-EU political center says this would reduce the number of migrants arriving without official documents, as it seems to stem gains by the far right ahead of the bloc's parliamentary election in June. Credit Reuters. So that is, I don't know what cooperation lacking from Ethiopian government side, but now it's impacting all Ethiopian nationals. Maybe try to visit or try to go for schools or medical treatment. So visa restriction. They say it's temporary, but we'll see. It's not about human rights violations or war crimes. So this is a different kind of visa restriction because Ethiopia is not cooperating with EU on maybe accepting Ethiopian nationals who are staying in Europe illegally, so coming back to Ethiopia. So this one is Ethiopia 11 billion birr for emergency humanitarian mission through June 2024, which is equivalent of US dollar 192,274. Just for from now on for 2 months. That means May and June, almost 11 billion or 192,274 US dollar needed. The Ethiopian Disaster Risk Management Commission, EDRMC, has declared that an estimated amount of 11 billion birr will be necessary to furnish humanitarian aid until June 2024. Commissioner Shifarrao Taklemariam has elucidated the Commission's goal to provide assistance to over 8 million citizens impacted by natural disasters like drought and man-made crises such as conflict within this 3-month period. To address the upcoming 3-month funding requirement, the Ethiopian government is expected to contribute 5.1 billion birr, while the remaining 5.9 billion birr is anticipated to come from donors and partner organizations. In February 2024, the United Nations announced its need for $3.2 billion for the fiscal year to deliver vital assistance to millions of Ethiopians confronting severe circumstances. Prolonged droughts, climate change-induced flooding, and persistent security challenges across multiple regions of the country have exacerbated substantial humanitarian requirements. However, as of 23 April 2024, only $287 million had been funded through the Humanitarian Response Plan, according to the United Nations. 2 weeks ago, a high-level pledging event held in Geneva, co-sponsored by the governments of Ethiopia, Britain, and the United Nations, received $630 million in pledges, falling short of the target of $1 billion to respond to the humanitarian situation in Ethiopia. Shifarrao emphasized that the Commission is actively engaged in collaborating with diverse stakeholders to ensure the efficient distribution of humanitarian aid to vulnerable communities nationwide in the forthcoming quarter. Additionally, he highlighted ongoing efforts to mitigate disasters through a comprehensive risk profile study conducted in more than half of the districts across the country. During the preceding quarter, spanning from January to March, the Commission rendered support to 6.6 million individuals requiring aid. Within the current fiscal year's initial 6 months, the Tigray region received 238 million birr, benefiting 1.6 million individuals. Furthermore, an allocation of 277 million birr in cash was dispersed to nearly 2 million residents of the Amhara region. This was about OFC Central Committee member held in police custody for more than a week without court hearing, family member told Addis Standard. So, Shamin Benya, a Central Committee member of the Oromo Federalist Congress, has been held in police detention for more than a week without being formally brought before a court, according to a family member who spoke with Addis Standard. According to Shamin's spouse, Medina Bashir, he was apprehended by law enforcement officials on the evening of 17 April 2024 at approximately 7 p.m. while socializing at a cafe with acquaintances. Medina informed Addis Standard that the authorities cited the presence of an image of an Oromo Liberation Front OLA flag on Shamin's mobile device as the reason for his arrest. Just because they see Oromo flag on his mobile device, they arrested him. However, she raised doubt regarding whether this singular reason justified her husband's prolonged detention without a judicial review. According to Ethiopian constitution, any individual arrested by authorities must be brought to justice or court hearing within 48 hours. It is in the book. The book Prime Minister raised and abide by, but this is not respected. Shamin, who holds a position on the executive committee of OFC's East Shore branch, is a lecturer of law at RC University and is currently pursuing his PhD at Addis Ababa University. He has been held in custody at a police station in Adama city since his arrest on 17 April. OFC spokesman Sultan Qasim verified Shamin's detainment and indicated that several other party leaders have been in custody across different zones and districts of the Oromia region for a considerable duration, with the whereabouts of some individuals still unaccounted for. That is what we have in Ethiopia. Among the detained party officials are Girma Chala, Sima Chala, Dajane Girma, Kabada Wakjira, Muhammad Dayo, Melissa Chala, and Fikadu Ayana. As per the spokesperson, the party has lodged appeals with both the National Election Board of Ethiopia and the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission. However, no response has been forthcoming. Sultan is of the opinion that the detention of these leaders lacks justification and perceives the ongoing process as a deliberate effort to, in quotation, marginalize the OFC from the political sphere, end of quotation, by curtailing the party's engagement at the zonal and district levels and shuttering its offices. Shamin's apprehension occurs in the backdrop of concerns outlined in the 2023 country report on human rights practice in Ethiopia by the U.S. State Department. The report underscored the emergence of enforced disappearances as a significant issue and brought attention to the widespread occurrences of arbitrary arrest and detention without proper legal procedure. It noted that a large number of individuals from ethnic groups such as the Oromo and Amhara were allegedly taken into custody and held in makeshift facilities under adverse conditions. Additionally, the report accused security forces of systematically employing torture techniques during interrogations to extract confessions. These methods including beatings, the imposition of stress positions, and other forms of harsh treatment, both within official detention centers and unofficial locations. Credit at this standard. So, yes, there is a report on Ethiopia and other countries. On Ethiopia, 68 pages. 68 pages. I have it here. I printed a little bit part of that report. So this is available on U.S. State Department page. It describes a lot of details how Ethiopia is treating its own citizens. And they are not even learning from this report. They are still doing it in the case of OFC member and other politicians. So nothing can be learned because there is no consequences. They can arrest, they can kill, They can torture without any accountability. They don't feel. No justice system can hold them accountable. Let me read a little bit what this report says, just some parts. This one talks about torture and other cruel, inhuman, degrading treatment or punishment or other related abuses. This is on page 6 of page 106, no, page 68. This is page 6 of 68. It says, although the Constitution forbids such practices, there were reports security officials torture and otherwise abused detainees. According to the World Organization Against Torture, OMCT, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and numerous media report the government engaged in torture in its security operations and failed to hold soldiers accused of torture accountable. In March report to the UN Committee Against Torture and the Association for Human Rights in Ethiopia reported the government had used torture, excessive force, and other forms of inhuman treatment in conflict region despite democratic reform enacted in 2018. During the year, Ethiopian Human Rights Commission investigations into prison and detention centers in Amhara, Oromia, Benishangul Gumuz, and the Somali regions revealed detainees reported police beat them during arrests and detention. The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission's monitoring team found evidence of injuries on some detainees who reported police beatings. In addition, the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission stated Oromia police tortured suspects held in unofficial detention centers, including in Oromia police training camps and government offices. Individuals were allegedly beaten and tortured as punishment for supporting armed groups and to extract information. The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission's annual report stated regional police officers across various districts of Amhara, Benishangul Gumuz, Gambela, and the Somali regions beat prisoners and detainees for various reasons, including to extract confessions. On June 5, the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission reported it was investigating an allegation government security forces tortured individuals in a police training center in Galan town of Oromia. According to EHRC, security forces took the victims from their homes in Addis Ababa to the police training camp starting May 2nd after an unrest broke out in Amhara region following the federal government's initiative to dissolve regional special forces. On June 2nd, Human Rights Watch alleged Amhara security forces, militias, and officials in Western Tigray tortured, mistreated, and subjected Tigrayans detainees to inhuman treatment, including beatings with iron pipes, electric wires, and sticks. Human Rights Watch reported detainees described being tied in stress positions for long periods, either at night or in the hot sun in Badu Sidist, a prison that also served as a camp for Amhara Special Forces. On May 12, the United Nations Human Rights Commission Against Torture expressed a grave concern regarding complaint of torture and mistreatment by police officers, prison guards, and other military and security force members in police stations detention centers, federal prisons, military bases, and unofficial or secret detention places. All these are unconstitutional practices carried out by Ethiopian authorities. The constitution does not guarantee all this inhumane treatment. The committee urged the government to allow an independent body to investigate all human rights violations, including allegation of torture. Prison and detention center conditions. Prison conditions were harsh and life-threatening due to gross overcrowding, food shortage, physical abuse, and inadequate sanitary conditions. Abusive physical conditions. Gross overcrowding was common, and prisoners often lacked access to quality food, portable water, sanitation, heating, ventilation, lighting, or medical care. Authorities sometimes kept prisoners confined in cells for long periods without an opportunity for movement, exercise, or use of showers or sanitary facilities. Conditions in detention camps were reportedly life-threatening. There were multiple media reports. Security forces, including members of Ethiopian National Defense Force, took prisoners out of detention centers and committed extrajudicial killings. This is very bad. This is very sad, really. The law prohibits detentions in any facility or other than an official detention center. However, the Ethiopian National Defense Force, regional police, local militias, and other formal and informal law enforcement entities reportedly operated an unknown number of unofficial detention centers. During the year, several reports implicated the government in increased use of informal detention centers to keep detainees. Arbitrary arrest or detention. The Constitution and the federal law prohibits arbitrary arrest and detention and provided for the right of any person to challenge the lawfulness of their arrest or detention in court. The government generally didn't observe this requirement, especially regarding the mass detention made under the state of emergency declared on August 4. Arrests, procedures, and the treatment of detainees. The Constitution, that's talking about Ethiopian Constitution, and the law requires judicial authorization for an arrest and required detainees to appear in court and face charges within 48 hours of arrest or as soon thereafter as local circumstances and communications permit. 48 hours. Now this OFC officer never been to court in 2 weeks. This is again is the Constitution, which the Prime Minister agreed to be governed or to be abide by raising his hand. But it's not happening. So many unlawful practices happening under this Prime Minister. Travel time to the court was not included in this 48-hour period within a warrant. Authorities could detain persons suspected of serious offenses for 14 days without charge. The courts increasingly pushed authorities to present evidence or provide clear justification within 14 days or release the detainees. Courts also demanded to see police investigative files to assess police requests for additional time. A functioning bail system was in place. Bail was not available, however, for persons charged with murder, treason, or corruption. In other cases, the court set bail at amounts few citizens could afford. Yes, that's another problem. Police reportedly failed to release detainees after a court decided to release them on bail. Sometimes police filed another charge immediately after the court's decision, filed repeated bail appeals, or transferred detainees to regional jurisdiction to face another charge. These are all corrupt systems. That's why concerned citizens media is open to voice its concern in Ethiopia. These are illegal, totally illegal practices. The government provided public defendants for detainees unable to afford private legal counsel, but defendants received these services only when their cases went to trial and not during the pre-trial phases. In some cases, a single defense counsel represented multiple defendants in a single case. Some suspects were held incommunicado. Arbitrary arrest. There were reports of widespread arbitrary or unlawful detention. The government reportedly detained thousands of ethnic Amhara and Oromo after the August 4 state of emergency, converting, warehouses, schools, youth centers, private residence, and other makeshift facilities to house the growing detainees population, according to media. This is ugly. It looks like ugly on all Ethiopians who are just, stay silent when the government is using their schools, warehouses, youth centers, private residence, and other makeshift facilities to house detainees. This is outrageous. If this happened in the United States or UK or some Western countries, it could create war against the government. The government in these countries cannot do this, cannot arrest individuals in schools or private residence. But under Abiy Ahmed, under Prosperity Party, everything is possible because there is no check and balance. Nobody can control them. They use killing squad to assassinate any dissent. That's why Ethiopians are quiet, silent. Even those representatives of the people in assembly or in a parliament, they are not supposed to be quiet when these things are happening in Ethiopia, when their schools, private residence, warehouse being used as a detention center, when these all abuse are happening. That's very tough. So this is reported in 68 pages. On February 15, the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission reported police in Addis Ababa and Oromia arbitrarily detained journalists and numerous members of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, EOTC, after authorities cancelled a protest called by two opposition groups within the EOTC. News network BBC reported government security forces on February 4 used excessive force against followers of the main church, resulting in extrajudicial killings, beatings, harassment, and arbitrary arrest. In investigation in Oromia, Amhara, and Addis Ababa, the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission found many detainees had been arrested without court orders or formal investigations, and many had hadn't been brought before court within the time the law prescribed. In addition, the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission reported many police stations held suspects whose charges were dropped or who should have been released in accordance with court orders. In some cases, children reportedly were held in detention on suspicion of involvement in criminal activity, contrary to the law requiring their release on unconditional bail. On June 1st, the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission reported security forces in Addis Ababa arrested several Islamic community members around Anwar Mosque for peacefully demonstrating against the demolition of at least 19 mosques deemed, in quotation, illegal by the Oromia regional government in Shaggar city. Media reported Addis Ababa police crackdown on May 27 protest within the premises and the surrounding area of the mosque, resulting in two killed and more than 40 injured, and many more arbitrarily detained. There were reports of Amhara militia arbitrarily detained thousands of Tigrayans in western Tigray. This one is about denial of fair public trial. The law provided for an independent judiciary, but the government didn't always respect judicial independence and impartiality. Although civil courts largely operated with independence, criminal courts were weak and overburdened. Media and human rights groups reported police repeatedly denied fair public trial, including through harassment and the detention of defense lawyers. Political prisoners and detainees. On July 24, Human Rights Watch called for immediate release of 7 Oromo opposition figures arbitrarily detained for 3 years due to the government's repeated violation of due process and court orders. Human Rights Watch stated the government kept Abdi Ragasa, Dawit Abdata, Lemmi Benya, Michael Boran, Kananisa Ayana, Gada Oljira, and Gada Gabisa in prolonged and unlawful detention despite several judicial orders directing their release. Human Rights Watch stated authorities of the Oromia police repeatedly violated the detainees' due process rights, forcibly disappearing them or holding them incommunicado, denying them access to their lawyers and family members for weeks or months, at times up to 8 months, and frequently moving them between makeshift and official detention sites, further hampering their families and lawyers' access. In August, media reported the arrest of political figures and elected officials, including Christian Tadele, a prominent lawmaker from the National Movement of Amhara opposition party and an outspoken government critic, in connection with the conflict in Amhara. The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission on September 1st stated it had visited 53 detainees kept in a military camp in Awash Arba, Afar region, including Tadele and the lawmakers Johannes Bayalo, a member of Amhara Regional Council, and Kasa Tashagar, a member of the Addis Ababa City Council, who were both arrested in their constituencies and transferred to Afar region. During the visit, detainees told Ethiopian Human Rights Commission they experienced ethnic slurs and harassment during their transfer to Awash Arba. The federal police justified transferring detainees to the military camp due to overcrowding in the federal police detention center in Addis Ababa. Detainees said their families didn't know their whereabouts, and the detention center was built in an extremely hot area and lacked basic services. So really, it's a very, very mind-boggling and very hurting as for someone who cares about the image of his country. But for those who don't care, this is normal practice. This is normal practice, and denying individuals after the court ordered them to release, like in the case of Mikhail Boren and others, and taking prisoners to military camps, and insulting them. All these are not given in Ethiopian constitution. So Prosperity Party, I don't know how they how they're gonna read the constitution, maybe revise the constitution. Most of them, I know, they don't have the knowledge of the constitution. They just got the power, and that's why they are abusing their powers, and abusing and creating all this harassment, torture, other criminal activities on Ethiopian citizens. So it is 68 pages, but that's enough for you. If you are interested to read more, you can get it from U.S. State Department website. It's good to have, to keep it for record. Maybe one day we're going to bring these people to justice for all these abuses, for all this lawlessness in Ethiopia. I hope one day we'll see justice. This is about in Iraq, anti-prostitution and homosexuality law in Iraq from U.S. State Department. The United States is deeply concerned by the Iraqi Council representatives' passage of an amendment to existing legislation, officially called the Anti-Prostitution and Homosexuality Law, which threatened constitutionally protected human rights and fundamental freedoms. The law bans same-sex relations with steep fines and imprisonment, and punishes those who promote homosexuality. Limiting the rights of certain individuals in a society undermines the rights of all. This amendment threatens those most at risk in Iraq society. It can be used to hamper free speech and expression and inhibit the operation of NGOs across Iraq. The legislation also weakened Iraq's ability to diversify its economy and attract foreign investment. International business coalitions have already indicated that such discrimination in Iraq will harm business and economic growth in the country. Respect for human rights and political and economic inclusion is essential for Iraq's security, stability, and prosperity. This legislation is inconsistent with these values and undermines the government's political and economic reform efforts. So that is U.S. State Department. That's all I have for you and reading. Let's watch a few videos I selected for today and finish up. Thank you again.
What happened on October 7th never happens again. But At the same time, we are determined to do everything we can to bring an end to the terrible human suffering that we're seeing every single day in Gaza among children, women, men, who've been caught in a terrible crossfire of Hamas's making. And so maximizing protection of civilians, maximizing the support that gets to them, this is very much our focus. Now, the quickest way to bring this to an end is to get to a ceasefire and the release of hostages. Hamas has before it a proposal that is extraordinarily generous on the part of Israel. And in this moment, the only thing standing between the people of Gaza and a ceasefire is Hamas. They have to decide, and they have to decide quickly. So we're looking to that, and I'm hopeful that they will make the right decision. We've said clearly and for some time now on Raffa that in the absence of a plan to ensure that civilians will not be harmed, we can't support a major military operation in Rafah, and we have not yet seen a plan that gives us confidence that civilians can be effectively protected.
No, Mr. Netanyahu, it is not anti-Semitic or pro-Hamas to point out that in a little over 6 months, your extremist government has killed 34,000 Palestinians. It is not anti-Semitic to note that your government has obliterated Gaza's civilian infrastructure. It is not anti-Semitic to realize that your government
Senator
has
Bernie
annihilated
Sanders.
Gaza's
Wish you
healthcare system.
long
It is
life
not
and
anti-Semitic to
health.
condemn your government's destruction of all of Gaza's 12 universities and 56 of its schools. It is not anti-Semitic to agree with virtually every humanitarian organization in saying that your government, in violation of American law, has unreasonably blocked humanitarian aid coming into Gaza. It is not anti-Semitic to hold you accountable for your actions.
Want a satisfying remote-friendly job that pays well? Get into tech quickly with 1010. We're not like other boot camps. We're...
Okay, this is the last one,
the
I think.
reinforcements. More supplies and more demonstrators. The growing protest camps, like this student protest encampment at City University of New York, include Jewish Americans on both sides of the barricade. This man, who said he was an Israeli soldier who just served in Gaza, said he wanted to open a dialogue with protesters.
As an IDF soldier who fought in Gaza, to have the opportunity to have the conversations and let people know the side of the IDF that maybe they don't know, that we do want peace, that we do care about Palestinians, that we do care about Muslims.
When he tried to force his way into the encampment, demonstrators drove him out, with police escorting him away, they said, for agitating the crowd.
And to show that, he is burning the passport.
Soon after, an Orthodox Jewish rabbi publicly burned his Israeli passport in protest. Another Orthodox rabbi explained why they joined the demonstration.
These courageous students who stand up for justice, who stand up for what is right, this should be a lesson for the world to stand up in face of this genocide taking place now in Gaza and this occupation already for decades.
I would like to say
These Jewish students say they're concealing their identities because they would face intense criticism from friends and family.
a lot of people are very comfortable using anti-Semitism as a cudgel to denounce movements that they find not very politically convenient.
As the encampments grow in number and size, they're also gaining a growing sense of permanence.
On day 4, this encampment has developed a kind of routine. This is a privacy screen because this is the area where they hold prayers and even yoga, because for the foreseeable future, this is home.
Always there is the constant threat of arrest. This woman has the number for volunteer lawyers on her arm.
I mean, a lot of people here are taking a lot of different kinds of risks. The risk of arrest, the risk of, expulsion or suspension in the case of students, the risk of losing jobs.
At Washington University in St. Louis, Green Party presidential candidate Jill Stein was swept up Saturday among more than 100 people arrested. At the University of California at Los Angeles, protesters opposing and supporting Israel shouted and shoved each other on Sunday. With days or weeks left to go in the university term, these students say they will remain here until their demands are met. John Hendren, Al Jazeera, New York.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel.
So that is a very serious movement happening in different parts of universities in the United States. Columbia University, in Boston, IT University, Rice University, Texas, plus other universities, plus also in France and other European countries. So this movement is huge. We should appreciate this pro-Palestinian, pro-freedom, pro-justice movement. The residents should join them. It's not only about the university. This genocidal war happening against Palestinians for almost more than 6 months now. They are speaking up. They are paying the price. We should also join them until Biden and the Biden administration listen to us and stop this genocidal war instead of pumping $14 billion into Israel. And, they can use it to destroy Raffa, maybe. They destroyed Gaza already, totally. And two-state solution is denied, vetoed by US. So, but the voice is strong, especially in Columbia, University of Columbia. The students are very defiant, very strong, very courageous, challenging the system. They try to silence them by using, all kind of things like anti-Semite, fake things, and exposing their names into social media, and taking away the jobs from these youngsters for speaking up for justice, for freedom, for ending genocide. So this must be stopped. They are not anti-Semites. They are not anti-Jews. They are anti-Netanyahu policy of destroying Palestinians. So we should join them. We should support them. Give them water or give them something if you see them, protesting in campus, or if you see by chance anywhere. And we should join them. Ethiopian citizens, please read your constitution again, please. That will teach you to challenge your government. All these abuses out of your constitution, illegal. You should challenge your system. You should challenge the government. Just last time, TPLF was challenged and removed. Now, Prosperity Party is repeating the same illegal practice, in some cases more than TPLF. So Ethiopian citizens, they must read the constitution. They must organize themselves, challenge the government, challenge the Prosperity Party. That's all I'm going to say for today. Thank you for joining me. Be safe. So long, everyone.